No Mud, No Lotus, A Journey to Wholehearted Self. Embracing the wisdom of Thich Nhat Hanh, Pema Chodron, and Brene Brown, today I will discuss the journey to authentic self. The setting for the journey is the Christine Center, where I participated in an intuitive painting retreat this fall. Although the painting retreat may be unique to my experience, I am sure this journey may be similar to yours. Through painting, research, winter wildlife walks, and reflection, I found that the answer was not outside myself, but the answer was inside myself and revealed itself when I stopped searching for it. Pema Chodron said, "The wonderful irony about the spiritual journey is that we find it leads us to become just as we are." It was November. I was restless. I felt anxious, off, and unhappy. I always felt rushed and filled with should. I should be doing something, having something, doing something. Why was it so difficult to quiet my mind? Why do I distract myself with Netflix and my new Spider Solitaire game? This was a distraction and had a draw like a drug. The numbing effect was comforting, and I'm left searching every day for the answer. What am I doing wrong? Why did I feel this way? I was worried about having a mini meltdown right in the middle of Christmas time, so I scheduled myself for a retreat. I chose the Christine Center in Willard, Wisconsin, because a dear friend, Barb, spoke very highly of it. So this is the Christine Center. It was founded in 1980 by Wheaton Franciscan Sisters, and it was created for people of all spiritual paths to come for meditation and deep transformative spiritual work. I encourage you to visit their website and look at their schedule. They have lots of classes, yoga classes, poetry, movement, art. It was just a wonderful experience. So I was enrolled in the intuitive painting class, and that was my instructor, Sister Gabrielle Uline. She went by Gabe. So the class was crafted after the work of Michelle Cassou and her book, Life, Paint, and Passion, and I have a copy of that here today if you want to investigate. The goal of the class was not to learn technique, but rather to be present with spontaneous images and welcome their coming. So Sister Gabe lives at the retreat. So the rules for the class were, we're painting for process, not product. We're not striving for frameable art. And it was a judgment-free zone. The images would not be critiqued, criticized, or even praised. We don't analyze our images and we don't fix them. This was the studio, this tiny little building that was renovated from a historic post office. Painting in motion. So this is what the class looks like, the picture on the right. This isn't my class, but this is what it looked like. So there was 6 of us painting simultaneously in the small studio, and we were using the same paint containers. So the painting became sort of a dance of images and movement. The process was energizing and freeing, and I felt myself getting lost in the images. And I felt a sense of purpose and peace. While working on the images, our teacher and coach, Gabe, reminded us that the images were neither good nor bad. She strongly followed the teachings of Pema Chodron and quoted her often while Gabe painted alongside us. "You are the sky. Everything else is just the weather." She reminded me that happiness is never the goal. Happiness and sadness are just a state of being, neither more valued than another. This is from one of Thich Nhat Hanh's books, No Mud, No Lotus. Both suffering and happiness are of an organic nature, which means they are both transitory. They're always changing. The flower when it wilts, becomes the compost. The compost helps grow a flower again. Happiness is also organic and impermanent by nature. It can become suffering, and suffering can become happiness again. Well, I found this idea shocking. To learn that happiness was not the goal. If happiness is not the goal, that meant I wasn't doing something wrong. This made me question everything. What else did I have wrong in my life? You mean my back pain and my bad moods were not my fault? Knowing this gave me a new sense of acceptance. There was no need to view my situation with self-criticism and shame. Instead, I could just accept things as they are and go from there. I bought this book at the retreat, Welcoming the Unwelcome, Pema Chödrön. In the Buddhist teachings, we often come across the analogy of the lotus and the mud. The lotus has its roots in the mud. It rises through muddy waters until it pierces the surface and blossoms as a gorgeous flower that delights all who see it. The lotus represents the beauty and purity of all fundamental nature. In other words, our basic goodness. And what about the sticky mud? That symbolizes everything negative in us, everything that we would like to move beyond. Our confusion, our self-destructive habits, our tendencies to hide out in a polarized mind and closed heart. By working through and rising above all these negatives, we discover our basic goodness and achieve our full potential as human beings. Only by learning to fully embrace all aspects of ourselves, even in the most seemingly negative elements of our minds and hearts, will we learn to fully embrace others. Only by discovering the basic goodness in both our lotus and our mud, we will come to see the basic goodness of all living beings. The evening before the last day of class, I painted alone in the studio. An image appeared. Without any intention at all, Buddha came to visit me. This bright golden belly appeared on my full page. The image makes me feel calm, peaceful, and full. Without trying, I had found that I had achieved the feeling of wholeness. I'm not surprised that with my creative personality and my background in art therapy that I found wholeness while painting. There are many other ways to feel grounded in yourself, and I wanted to plug two other books that I looked at today when preparing this service, and I brought them today. One is called Radical Acceptance by Tara Brach. That was mentioned in our service a few weeks ago. Tara is a psychologist. This book contains a reflection, a guided reflection called Not Doing when we feel driven by wanting. So it's an exercise that you can work on when you're feeling like how I was feeling, restless and wanting something, wanting to go shopping, needing something, feeling something's missing. And a way to reflect on what just is. And the other was Brené Brown. Her book, The Gifts of Imperfection, it has specific goals towards how to live wholeheartedly. So letting go of what people think of you, letting go of the shoulds, things like that. So both of those books were very helpful. And I think when I intended to do the service today, I was getting information from all of the books, and it was just totally overwhelming. So I had to put those aside to revisit later. So I don't want to leave out one last experience I had at the Christine Center. My intention for the retreat was to step out of my comfort zone. Although much of my time was spent painting, I made an extra effort to take silent walks in the woods. Many of you know that being in the quiet of outdoors is challenging for me. I'm such a people person, the silence of it is unnerving. But the snow was beautiful, So I walked in the woods every day, and I followed the animal tracks. And my goal was to spot a deer. I did end up going out at night once, and I heard something snort out there, and I booked it back to the cottage pretty quickly. And near the end of my stay, I did see a flash of a white tail, so that I had achieved that goal. So I lost track of how much time I spent in the woods and the tracks that I was following. But on the last day, I found 2 sets of boot tracks in front of me, and the tracks were going both directions, and both sets of the tracks were mine. So again, I found that when I stopped trying to find myself, I found exactly that. So I'll close with the words from T.S. Eliot. We shall not cease from exploration, and the end of all our exploring will be to arrive where we started and know the place for the first time. I think because I finished early, we'll do the closing hymn, and then I can open it up if anyone wants to do some questions, the congregational response. So please rise as you're willing and able, and join me in our closing hymn, number 318, We Would Be One.